Hey guys, I'm Pixel Dan, and this is a review of the Star Wars Vintage Collection, Phantom Menace, Anakin Skywalker. Oh Hasbro, you always find a way to get me to buy Star Wars figures again. I have been buying Star Wars figures since, well, I started collecting toys. And it's always been an on-again, off-again kind of thing for me. There's just been so many figures out there that you can't quite buy all of them and still be able to afford to buy other things. But there's something about the vintage collection that has always drawn me in. Maybe it's just that really cool retro packaging, but the fact that the figures inside are also very detailed and well-articulated figures definitely helps. This new series comes from the Phantom Menace, which, honestly, is probably my least favorite Star Wars film, and I'm sure that's the same for everybody. But, nonetheless, the Phantom Menace is getting the vintage collection treatment. So Anakin Skywalker comes on that awesome vintage-style packaging. Now, this is the Anakin Skywalker depicted from the end of the film, where he is in his Jedi attire with the short hair, looking kind of like a mini Obi-Wan Kenobi. The back of the package is just as retro looking, with a look at all of the new figures in this lineup, but done just like the vintage card backs, which is really cool. Alright, I know I'm not the only one. I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to agree with me. I don't like Jake Lloyd's portrayal of Anakin Skywalker. Little kid Anakin annoys me. But this figure is an awesome figure. Let me show you why. First of all, this is probably the best representation of this version of Anakin Skywalker that we've ever received in action figure form. The sculpt is very cool with a pretty decent likeness. The paint job on the figure is wonderfully done. There's a lot of shading going on in the actual Jedi tunic, which brings out all of the textures in the actual uniform. So the detailing on the figure is very nice, and like I said, one of the best renditions we've ever received. Now, for such a tiny little action figure, he does feature a really good range of articulation. The head moves at a full 360 degrees and can go slightly upwards and downwards. We've got ball-like joints at the shoulders going 360 degrees. You've got a twist right above the elbow and then your regular elbow joint, and you've got wrist cut articulation. The figure has a waist cut twist. Now, he's kind of got that cloth skirt going on, but it doesn't look so bad because he's got plastic pieces hanging down in the front and the back. Generally, I don't like the look of cloth skirts on plastic tunics on action figures, especially in the Star Wars line, but this works pretty well, and it does help with the articulation of his legs. You can also see he's got a twist right above the knee as well as the knee joint. He's got an ankle twist and a really nice ankle joint allowing for the foot to move forwards and backwards. So for such a tiny little guy, he is really well built with great articulation, and all of the joints on mine are very tight. Now, one of the other great things about this figure are all of the accessories that he comes with. First of all, we get two versions of the lightsaber, which is pretty standard for a lot of Star Wars figures for some time now. You get one with the ignited blade, and one where the saber's turned off so you can hang it from his belt. There's a small peg on the handle, and then there's a little hole on his belt, and it just plugs in nice and firm and stays in place really well. Now, the handle on the lightsaber is detailed pretty nice. It's silver with a little gold stripe at the top. And the blade is the same translucent blue with a little bit of a burst kind of towards the bottom of it. You'll notice that it is a shorter blade because this is a Padawan's lightsaber, though the handle is still pretty long. The figure does a good job of holding it both two-handed and single-handed, which is really nice. He can get a pretty good grip on it, and he can hold the lightsaber straight up and down, which is really nice. Sometimes when you have these figures that can hold it two-handed, you can't get that straight up and down pose with the lightsaber, but Anakin does a pretty good job of it. Now here's some other fun little accessories. This isn't something we saw in the movies, but it's a really great inclusion. For some Padawan training, we get this cool little helmet that fits right over Anakin's head, very snug, and as you can see, it covers his face. It's very similar to the blast shield that was in front of Luke Skywalker's face in Episode 4, and of course we saw some of the other Padawans in Episode 2 using these helmets. Now we've also got the cool little droid, the training droid, to fire the laser shots at Anakin. It's just on a little clear base, and you can stand that down in front of him. That way you can get some really cool Padawan training poses out of him. I thought this was a really nice inclusion for some extra accessories for this tiny little action figure. So there you go, guys. There's a look at the brand new vintage collection, Phantom Menace, Anakin Skywalker. Now again, not my favorite character, not my favorite of the Star Wars movies, but there is no denying that this is a really sweet little action figure. And it is the best representation of this version of Anakin Skywalker, in my personal opinion. Now, the vintage collection Phantom Menace wave is in stores now, but if you guys don't want to do any hunting, head on over to www.pastgenerationtoys.com, as they carry a great selection of Star Wars action figures right there. Until next time.